In this section of the course regarding MATLAB, we want to discuss the concept of strings. Now, we've used strings before, and so you probably already know that a string is a collection of any combination of letters, numbers, or special characters. They can be created, stored, and manipulated in arrays, and defined in a way similar to that for vectors and matrices. So there's a couple of key differences between an array of string and an array of numerical values. First difference is each character is going to occupy one element in an array. It's defined by enclosing all of its characters between a pair of single quotes, as you also have already had some experience with. Typically, this is used for displaying information to the command window, annotating data that are displayed to the command window, and annotating graphs. So those are three of the main uses. All right, so to look at an example, we can define S as a string, testing 1, 2, 3. And in order to do that, you may either type in S and equal the assignment character, and then in single quotes, testing 1, 2, 3, or you can enclose that in square brackets. MATLAB saves it the same way. Now, so basically, as you recall from the previous page, each character occupies a space in the array. So if we wanted to retrieve specific characters from the string, you can use expressions like S7. So this is our classic indexing technique where we're asking for the 7th element in the array. And so in this case, the 7th element is G. You can also use the colon command. So for example, S of 3 colon 6. That will give you the characters starting with character 3 and ending with character 6, defaulting to give you every character. You can also concatenate strings, which means basically you can put strings like together, so they add together to form a longer string. So if, for example, I separate this by commas, it's going to take testing 1, 2, 3. And then the second testing 1, 2, 3, and it's basically going to produce an output testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice there are no spaces. It's just basically going to end with one string and begin with the other string. So you can also separate that by a colon. And if you separate by a colon, it's basically, remember the colon always signifies carriage return in MATLAB. So what it's going to do is it's going to give you a column matrix of testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. So if you wanted to call a given row, you would basically say row 1, and then the colon command in this syntax says to give me everything in row 1. And then row 2 would be 2, comma, colon, where once again the colon gives you everything in row 2. So this would be the output for those two commands. So you can find the starting location of strings within strings using a character called string find. So what this does is this will find a string of characters within a broader string of characters. So for example, let's suppose, going with our particular previous example, we wanted to find where 1, 2, 3 occurs in the concatenated string. So first we set up our string, and then basically we use the command string find. So string find, the syntax is the first element is in the syntax is telling you what string to search or what array to search, and then the second 1, 2, 3 in quotes telling you what to search for. We're storing that just in a variable called location. So basically, once this executes, here is our concatenated string, and then we're finding 1, 2, 3, and so what gets stored in the array location are the places where the string 1, 2, 3 occurs, which would be position 8 and position 18. And notice there that they're giving you where it begins. So position 8 begins at the 1, position 18 begins at the 1. You can also use string find to count words or letters in a string. So, for example, let's suppose we define a string. Students really enjoy studying physics, calculus, chemistry, and especially MATLAB. And please ignore the grammatical mistake here. It should be especially. And so what we want to do is we want to find where the letter A occurs. So if we first of all find string find of A, and then that will give you the location of all of the times A occurs. So position 12, 42, 62, 71, 77, and 80. So this would show you where the A's are in the string. And then if you place that inside of the MATLAB command length, remember what length does is it finds the length of an array. Here is what is stored in that array, the locations of the letter A. And so what comes out is the number 6, because that's the length of the array that shows you the location of all the A's. So this will tell you that A occurs in that string 6 times. We can also, for example, just look for the term MATLAB. So if you ask it to find MATLAB, then it tells you that MATLAB occurs in position 76. Now, one thing to note here is that string find strings are case sensitive. So if I type MATLAB in with a lowercase m, you notice the result is an empty set. So it is important in MATLAB that if you're using all caps or lowercase, that you be consistent in how you do that. And so if you're coding something for a user, you need to specify to the user when to capitalize, when not to capitalize, and so on. So if we place a string in each row of a matrix, we have a convenient way in which to access string expressions. The requirement is that each row has to contain the same number of characters. So you can do this by using blanks to pad the rest of the string. So if you look here in this particular example, what we want to do is we want to have a column of strings that say first, last, and middle. So this might be prompting someone, for example, to enter their name. So first, if you look at the longest term, middle has 6 characters. So in order for MATLAB to store these strings in an array called lab, we have to have them all be of the same length. So when we type in first, because that's only 5 letters, there's a blank between the T and the apostrophe. And the same in last, there are 2 blanks. So for example, if you look here, first, and then there's a blank, last, and then there's blank, blank, middle. So the B here indicates a blank space. And that's not intended for you to type anything in there. That's basically just to illustrate to you where the blanks were entered in MATLAB.